get into it. The bigger concern, offense or bullpen, what is your bigger concern right now?
I think in the grand scheme of things, I think the bullpen definitely needs some work. I think the bullpen early on, you're seeing that the starting pitching is getting the job done, but without a clearly defined closer, with guys like Alex Vesia, I think Brusdar Graterol, they're adjusting to the pitch clock. Brusdar Graterol did not look comfortable yesterday.
He was fooling nobody. My dead mom could have got a hit off of him.
Wow.
Anybody? No, that was
darkness. But yeah, I mean,
I love her.
The thing that really
back
stood
one day.
out from, and yeah, so to answer your question, I think this lineup, they're going to be okay. I think you still have, when you still have Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and Will Smith, and we know James Outman, he's had success early on, scored the team's first run, hit their first home run, and Miguel Vargas, I still feel good about them. The bullpen, though, to me, bullpen pieces, they have to prove themselves each and every year. And until they do, the jury's always going to be out. And I think Alex Vesia, that's your high leverage guy, and he's had bad slumps in the past, only to be lights out for the rest of the way. He needs to figure things out. Now, Brusdar Graterol, for years now, I've always had been a little ho-hum about him. I haven't been as bullish or brazen on his success, and one of the big reasons why is he's, to me, is one of those guys. He's like the NFL Combine, the guy who runs the 4.2 40, but Combine speed isn't football speed, right? And that's how I look at his fastball. His fastball doesn't play up. And also, you look at yesterday, he didn't throw one slider. He needs that pitch. But he threw it 19% of the time last year. I mean, he needs it to keep guys off balance. Otherwise, you're going to put the ball in play. And what I've been saying, too, is that with the new rules on the restriction of the shift, with the BABIP numbers that they were on the right side of for so many years, this is a bullpen that's never really been a big miss-bad bullpen. And when you put the ball in play, every now and then you're going to run into trouble. Yesterday, Brusdar gives up those 4 hits. He's always struggled against lefties. Lefties are hitting 294 against him with an 847 OPS. That hit from Marte wasn't even the worst pitch. But yeah, until I see these bullpen pieces really reestablish themselves, I believe in Evan Phillips. I think that Daniel Hudson's going to come back and have success. But I do think that every single year we see Andrew Freeman go out there and get a Chris Martin, or also we're going to see one of these swingman types. I mean, will Ryan Pepe will be that guy? Will Gavin Stone be that guy? But they're definitely going to have to bolster this bullpen at some point.
Yeah, I mean, got to know what you're going to get out of Phil Bickford type this year or whatever. There's a lot of question marks with. I'd say there's more question marks in the bullpen, and there's more concern in the bullpen, as we've talked about the last couple of weeks with the thinness of the depth. I think the bones are there to have a good roster. Just going to take time. I think the roster it's more of a time thing. Bullpen for me. 2.45 ERA. It's only 4 games, 11 innings pitched out of the bullpen. The scary number for me, only 4 strikeouts. That's dead last in Major League Baseball. And it's a reasonable amount of innings. It's still like middle of the pack, slightly above middle of the pack. We're talking like top 10 in innings. Very small sample size, but 4 strikeouts. That's pretty concerning. I mean, they got their double plays. That's helped, particularly Phillips and Caleb Ferguson. But I don't know. That's a problem. And you know, I've been kind of high key, low key, high key, very concerned about Alex Vesia this season. There's just something I think that with the pitch clock, the velo hasn't exactly been up in the Vesia range. I don't. It's a back of my soul kind of concern about that, but
no, I think you're on the money with that. I think he's a very high variance pitcher. Him and Ferguson. Ferguson was shaky yesterday. He benefited from another 4.63 double play, but his
Mookie?
Command was great job, Mookie, in position. But yeah, I think if you look at Alex Vesia, he's a guy that we've talked about on the show. It was going to be a big adjustment as far as adjusting to the pitch clock, but also too, his fastball plays up. And a lot of that has to do with the spin, with the fact that he's working it at top of the zone. And he wasn't locating at the top of the zone. Yeah. And when he doesn't do that, he's not missing bats. But I also think, too, Brusdar Graterol shouldn't be pitching in the 9th inning. I mean, if you looked at yesterday's game, we all picked, I think you and I both said that with Hudson out, who was going to get the most saves? We both said Evan Phillips. Yeah. Yes, Evan Phillips is your highest leverage reliever. He is your fireman. When you look at how that was, you bring him in the 8th to face the bottom of the lineup, and then Brusdar Graterol to close things out to face face the top of the lineup. I just didn't like that choice by Dave Roberts there. And I think Brusdar Graterol, until you know that he has an out pitch, a secondary pitch to keep hitters off balance that you can trust in, I just don't want to see him out there in a one-run game in the 9th inning. I think they really set him up for failure. I think he looked very uncomfortable there. He's a really good athlete, too. That's a play that really he should and could have made there at the end. Yeah. It was a great drag bunt there by McCarthy, so tip your cap to him. But, yeah, I think you want guys that can miss bats, and that is what we saw. That's why I was so high on Tommy Kahnle last year when he came back, because
Tominator.
You guys roast me for that nickname. I still don't appreciate that, guys.
It's a terrible nickname. It's really terrible bad. You're great at nicknames. That was the worst one you've ever come up in your lifetime.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate that. This guy.
But, yeah, I think, too, I mean, you talk about Alex Vesia, and you look at how thin they are with lefties, too. I mean, who do you really trust out there? I mean, Vesia, I think Vesia is going to probably have some struggles until he truly adjusts to that pitch clock and really gets into rhythm. But I do think he's going to string off a long stretch where he's dominant. Ferguson is a guy, stuff-wise, I think, when he's landing pitches and he's got the feel for the breaking stuff and he's also touching the top of the zone, he can be dependable. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge for Dave Roberts to push the right buttons when he doesn't have that guy that he can say, oh, this is going to be my guy for the 9th. But Brusdar yesterday had me wondering where was Craig Kimbrell. I mean,
for another note, you mentioned Dave Roberts. We're talking about a guy that usually does not make great, consistently quality bullpen decisions on his own. Now, if he has guys that aren't going to get the job done more often than not, or you don't really know anybody's role, it just leads to more potential for concern. So, hey, guys, you might be getting closer to us just eventually crapping on Dave Roberts for a while. Well, we're always happy to speak down or speak ill of Dave when there's actually something to talk about. But Dave he hasn't done anything exceptionally wrong in his job in quite some time.
Yeah, I think he benefits from a push button bullpen.
It was not his fault in the playoffs last year. I mean, maybe
and ultimately yesterday's loss.
Maybe that pitching decision in the
I think. I think Tyler Anderson could have stayed in the game longer. I think too.
I was thinking
you go to Tommy Kahnle on the second night back to back.
Who the hell gave up the hit to Cronenworth? Was it
Yency Almonte came in?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yency. In that situation, I don't know why I completely forgot about the existence of Yency.
Yeah.
Like Yency in that situation, he barely pitched since coming back from the injury. I'm like, maybe not there.
Yeah, no, Yency is a guy that misses bats, and Yency is a guy that
he also
can get guys to
the
chase.
Season.
Yeah, no, he does. He has been injury prone for sure. So, yeah, that's the thing. They're guys that either they're reclamation projects that they've figured out that they've really hit big on, or there's a young up and coming guys that have emerged. But you don't have those true stalwarts. You don't have prime Kenley Jansen. You don't have guys that you can truly trust in those spots. So, yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
Eric Gagne was there on opening day. What's he doing?
Give
him
a ball. Yeah, exactly.
He can still hump it up there at like 84, and he's got the change. You don't forget that Vulcan change. I mean, what is your bigger concern? Is it offense or bullpen?
I think it is bullpen. I mean, like we mentioned,
that's long term.
I think even right now, I would say the bullpen, because guys are still trying to figure out where they fit in and if they still are able to contribute. And like we said, Alex Vesia, when he gave that hit to Cronenworth in the NLDS, did that do something to his confidence? I mean, I think he was riding high until that moment, and I think that you're going to see them do fine because they're going to put them in positions to have success as far as playing the matchups, and also you got to put things into perspective and realize that it was just a one-run game. So for the most part, Evan Phillips did his job, Caleb Ferguson did his job, and if you're going to continue to get depth from the starting pitching, you're going to be able to have success. But yeah, I mean, until Daniel Hudson comes back and you start to have guys that are familiar with those roles, and Evan Phillips is proving that he is not just a one-year wonder or something like that, because we know he was solid in 2021, but last year he broke out and emerged as one of the best relievers in the game. If he's still that guy, I'll still feel a lot better about it. But not a lot of veterans. I mean, Vesia has some experience, Yency has some experience, Ferguson has some experience, but they're not tried and true veterans that have done it for 3 or 4 years. So they still have a lot to prove. And Brusdar Graterol, to me, he's like the ultimate project at this point. I think they still need, it's every year, it's when will Brusdar Graterol figure out that secondary pitch.
He's real, like, it's real off and on whether or not you feel you can put him in high leverage, and that's kind of a concern, So, yeah, that's definitely something. I mean, I'm interested in having this conversation again in exactly 1 month and seeing how we feel about these two things. So we'll move on from that. Let's get a few comments, and then we'll get into the last little section of the show where we look ahead to what's going on this week for your Dodgers, and then we'll get the hell out of here. Gabriel or Gabrielle or however you pronounce your name, Mr. or Mrs. Villarreal says, let the kids play. We need energy and urgency. Too laid back. Again, I still feel this is a team trying to kind of find its identity right now and try to learn to play together. I mean, we're reusing old choo-choo trains from David Peralta. They don't know what they're doing yet. I want one of these. Give me something. Give me something
new.
meaty.